This is Tanya Lynn with the Sistership Circle podcast. From spirituality, sexuality, and sisterhood to business, relationships, contribution, and creativity, the Sistership Circle podcast introduces a new model of feminine leadership where women get real and vulnerable about it all. Tune in for authentic advice that will empower you to be bold, beautiful, and brilliant as your true self. Welcome to the Sistership Circle podcast. I feel so grounded and present right now, and I'm so excited for you to be part of this call with me. I'm Tanya Lynn and the incredible, beloved Rose Cole. She just led us in a beautiful meditation so that we can really be the space and the portal for you to get the medicine that we're here to give today. So let me tell you a little bit about Rose. I'm going to just share a little bit about why I wanted her to come on the podcast today and then read her bio. I had heard about Rose and had been, a lot of women in my community were like, you need to connect with Rose. You need to connect with Rose. And we both spoke at an event in San Diego, and she went up there and shared this beautiful story and led the women in this very small ritual, but it was so profound and had such an impact. I could feel it in the whole room. And she truly is the embodiment of her work and is walking the path. And I just want to share more women who are embodied feminine leaders with you. And so I asked if she would come on and share her gifts and share her message. And here we are. So let me read you her bio, and then we're going to have her share how she got to where she is. So Rose Cole is a much-loved visionary leader and world-renowned speaker. She's the co-author alongside Deepak Chopra and Dr. Andrew Weil, popular featured guest on TV networks such as E! and MSNBC, and preeminent mentor and spiritual guide who has helped thousands create thriving and awakened lives. After a spiritual awakening in her 20s, Rose left behind a successful modeling career to be in service to others through hosting a series of inspirational programs and retreats, writing books, and sharing a powerful way of living she calls rituality. And so here we are. I'm so excited because rituality is definitely in alignment with everything that Sistership Circle is doing. So welcome, Rose. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. Hi, Tanya.
Yeah, and I would love to just have you share a little bit about your journey before we dive into content and, and just sharing how you got to where you are today. Anything you want to share on that?
Yeah, sure. The one thing I wanted to share, which Tanya and I were talking about beforehand, is it's kind of funny. I'm sitting in my bed right now, which is, I've never done an interview here before. I normally get all dolled up with my professional clothes on, and I go over to my office and I have a setup there for doing interviews with my logo in the back. And I'm in deep prayer and meditation before every interview, really opening myself for the message that's meant to come through. And I was talking to my husband. There I was in the bathtub with my husband. And I have this whole download. Nope, I'm not supposed to be doing it over at the office. In fact, I'm going to do it in our bed, and I'm going to wear my bathrobe. So here I am. I'm in my bathrobe. I was just in the bath like 20 minutes ago. And I just went, no, there's a more kind of authentic, organic message that's coming through me right now. And my husband was here kind of holding space for that. And so anyway, I just wanted to share that. It was really cute. And it was really sexy too. We had a sexy moment in the bathroom. It's just like, but there's this moment where it clicked for me where I went, this is what I'm supposed to be sharing. Like the epic life of my amazing, sweet, adorable husband who just adores and cherishes me, who is just ravishing me. And then me in my bathtub with my aromatherapy, my candles lit. And it's, it's a weekday, and it's, right now 1:00 where I am. And just the freedom I've been able to create in my life. And the abundance that I've been able to create in my life. And I don't mean monetarily, although yes, that's there, but I mean like in my time and my space and who I am in the world and how I choose to walk my path. Now, today, this life that I have, it's like I just want to pinch myself. I didn't even really know that this was possible. I had to stumble upon it and kind of learn it the hard way. And I guess what I wanted to share today was how I got here and some of the things that helped me get here to creating the ultimate freedom and expansion of my soul and who I am in the world. Because I have a very interesting story. I pretty much came from the opposite. If right now I'm experiencing the most freedom that I can imagine, my upbringing came from the most shackled beginning that you can imagine. I had a very, very traumatic childhood. I was bounced around from home to home and eventually taken away from my parents on grounds of neglect when I was a child by the state of California, and became a ward of the court, and then was adopted by my aunt and uncle finally. I was molested as a small child, and there was just a lot of neglect and abuse that was going on in my home. I was very, very shut down. My light had gotten so dim that I wanted to die. From age about 7 on, I had periods where I just had no attachment to my life, and I would have thoughts of just wanting to die. And you can imagine that the young adult that would come from that kind of childhood, I had extremely low self-esteem. I'm talking like the lowest self-esteem of maybe anybody that I've ever met. Very, very, very insecure, very neurotic. There's no way that I ever would have been on an interview here with you or standing on stage or doing television interview. It was so far outside of my comprehension. My family is all very poor. A lot of them, my mom today lives in the ghetto, well below the poverty line, and most of my family does. And that's how they choose to live. That's their state of consciousness. They can't even really, when they see where I live and how I live and the things I have in my life, they just think I'm a magician. It's really hard for them to even comprehend. And when I was finally a young adult, I had very unhealthy relationships. I had debt. I didn't know how to make money, on and on it goes, right? And then I had this spiritual awakening in my early 20s with holistic nutrition. I had psoriasis, which is a skin condition covering almost my whole body. And I went to this holistic nutrition coach, and I did cleanses and blood work and balancing my hormones and all of these things that don't really seem related to a spiritual awakening, but it created a spiritual awakening within me. And my life has never been the same since. I've been on this spiritual journey, and the man that adopted me with my aunt, he was Apache. So I had the great honor and privilege of being raised by a man who was Native American and got to do a lot of Native American ceremonies and plant medicines and journey and sweat lodges and things like that. And I have since then studied shamanic healing from all kinds of different places, from down in Mexico with a 100-year-old Yaqui Indian to Peruvian shaman to most recently a Navajo, it's called a roadman, who gave me the right to practice sacred ceremony. So I have a very vast background, and I also did holistic nutrition for 15 years. And today I help to work as a spiritual catalyst in women's lives. So I write books and create programs and retreats and things like that for women. That's all about really aligning yourself with what I call your sacred purpose. It's like the fullest expression of who you are, your real soul song, and how you can come into resonance with that soul song and to fulfill your mission and your sacred purpose this lifetime.
There was so much there. Wow. I'm just really present to your entire story and the pieces around how you really moved into the ceremony and ritual and the shamanic work. And I mean, just it's like we can always look at the things that happened to us as oh, poor me and victim, right? Because I mean, you had all these terrible things happen to you, or you can look at the opportunity and the gift and all of it, right? And who you are today, and who you're able to be for women today from that entire journey. So I just really want to first honor you for the work that you did on your life, and just how you've shown up and the courage to walk this path. So I just first want to honor you for that.
Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you.
And I love how we started this this was the download. Let's just show up in our, in our robe and in our bed. And I love that, because that's what Sistership Circle is all about, is the vulnerability and just being real and raw. And that's exactly who you are. And I'm just really happy that you brought that today. And this piece around the freedom that you're able to do that. And so I would love for us to dive into that. And I know that is one of your intentions of what you really want to share, is how do we create that freedom in our life? Not only the freedom to go take a bath at 12, but the freedom for you to show up in your robe and just be like, this is who I am. And so there's, that internal and external freedom that I'm hearing that you create for yourself. So yeah, share, please.
One of the things that I discovered or stumbled upon a few years back, it was like 6 or 7 years ago, was a body of work that I produced called High Priestess Training. And I'd never really I'd heard of the term High Priestess, but I didn't really know what that was. And at the time, nobody was really talking about or using that phrase. And I went to this event where I had a chance to meet Marianne Williamson, and I asked her a question about shamanic work. And I said, I'm really feeling called to do this, to bring this work forward. And at the time, nobody was talking about some of the things that, it was very edgy, like talking about like using plant medicines or doing ceremonial work. And right now it's more popular and in the collective consciousness, and people are, but this is maybe it was longer, 8 years ago, nobody was talking about it. And so I asked her this question, and she said, well, this is because you're a high priestess. And I felt this shockwave go through me, and I didn't know what it meant, but I knew that I was one, or that I was becoming one. And there was a part of me that did know what she meant by that. And then what unfolded after that was this identifying different stages of a woman or a man's consciousness and where you are. So the different phases or levels that I discovered were, there's what I call the slave girl or slave boy, which, by the way, keep in mind when I'm sharing these levels that we all go between all of the levels. There are days where I come crashing down into the bottom level, or things that raise me up to the highest level. But there is a primary level that you live primarily within, and there are lots of shades of gray within each level. But there's the slave boy or slave girl. And when we live primarily in this stage, we're in victim mode, we are in scarcity, we are in lack, we're in competition, we're just barely surviving. There's a lot of pain and suffering when we're in this level. This is the level that I lived most of my life, just feeling like I was barely keeping my head above water, like I was drowning in the matrix. And then the next stage is the chambermaid. And I need to identify what the masculine version of the chambermaid is. I don't know, but you can imagine. But chambermaid is, you're still kind of a slave to your environment, right? You're not calling the shots. You probably aren't doing for a living what is like your true soul calling for work. That's kind of one of the hallmarks of the chambermaid. Like, you have a job, but if I were to say, is this your dream job? You would be going, no, absolutely not. A lot of people at the chambermaid level, like, still live with their parents, or you have roommates, or you live in a house where you just feel totally uninspired. So like your physical space is like, oh, I don't like living here. Your car is just okay. Like everything that you look at in your material space, pretty much, not everything, but when you look out, you don't feel inspired by your life. You feel like, it's just okay. But the problem with this level is that there's not enough pain and urgency to really like light a fire under your butt. Like, I almost feel like it's better. And a lot of times the universe will facilitate you going down to your slave girl so that You can feel how painful it is to finally like do something to get out of it. But the chambermaid, people can stay in this level their whole life. You often have to drink alcohol or get into like bingo or gambling or like shopping or things to kind of numb the pain and just go through. It's like you're a hamster on the wheel. You're just surviving and going through the motions. We all know people like this. You probably have a lot of family members who are like this, that they're not awake to their experience. It's kind of like the living dead, right? They're not, maybe they're married, but they're like, oh, they're not like head over heels with their husband or creating true intimacy. They're kind of just avoiding the whole thing, right? The next phase is the queen or the king. And I love this phase. I would spend a lot of time in this phase. When I got to this phase, I was like, I've made it. Like, I have a nice car. And by the way, these phases are not about money and material things. You could be totally broke and then you could have zero money. Let me take this back. You could have zero money in your bank account and be at the queen phase. It's not about money, but there's a certain level of having like your outside circumstances like locked down. You're like, I actually am, maybe you're in love with your partner or not. Maybe you're dating and you're having a good time, but there's a certain level of like, I've made it. And a lot of people can get comfortable at this phase. You can have great success or lots of money or even fame at this level. In fact, I see a lot of people get comfortable at the queen stage or king stage, and especially the higher levels of it, and you get comfortable. And if you don't keep going to the other stage, the next stage, what happens is the universe will facilitate you coming and crashing down. This is where you see people that are like, you see a famous person like Winona Ryder, and you're like, okay, you're beautiful, you're famous, you're rich, and you went shoplifting at a store. Like, what would you think? Where they start to go a little stir crazy, right? Where they're like, you hear that they're like taking prescription drugs and they're partying, or they're like, because there's something more that they're searching for. And the universe is like tapping them on the shoulder going, don't stop here. There's more. This is not your sacred purpose. Your sacred purpose is, you didn't come here into a human form. Like, before you came here, you weren't up in heaven going, oh, I'm going to go down there and I heard there's great shopping and I'm going to buy lots of clothes and there's some really cute guys down there and there's like really yummy food and I'm just going to go down and like party it up. Like, that's not what you were thinking or why you came, you know? But if you are doing that, the universe is going to be like, and try to get your attention, sometimes more gently in the beginning. And then eventually it's like, this is where you hear of like men that like get caught in a back alley with a prostitute and they're famous and they like blew it all. And you're like, what on earth was going on? But if you saw how empty their life is, there's a certain level of emptiness at the king or queen, because we're really not here for that. We didn't come here into a human form for money or material possessions or fame, right? So then the level beyond this is the high priest or the high priestess. And many of you watching this are either in this phase or you've touched this phase and you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's this magic and sacred knowledge that when you become aware of it, when it comes into your consciousness, it blows your mind. You're like, I've had whispers of this since I was a child. I knew that there was more going on behind the scenes and I'm not alone. There's other women that are on this path. And Tanya is bringing so many of us together to do this sacred work. And thank you so much for that, Tanya, for holding this vibration, this frequency, because that's the frequency of this group is, you know, the high priestess. We are actually here to be light bearers for others. And those of you that are drawn to this work in this circle, you are part of what's called the first wave of ascension. That means that there's, some people say 20% or 30% of the planet right now, you are here to assist in the evolving, it's like a revolution that's happening right now. We're taking a big leap in consciousness very quickly. And some of us came with the intention to be the bearers of light and hold space for this evolving consciousness, right? Tanya, I'm sure that you talk a lot about this in your group. You know, I have a, hold on one second. I have a B12 lozenge in my mouth and it probably looks like my teeth are bleeding, huh?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. It just looks like there's blood running down my teeth. It's really pleasant. So this phase is incredible. You have all these synchronicities that happen, right? Where you feel like you're following these cosmic breadcrumbs, where you're waking up really quickly and all of a sudden you find this community of people and you're like, oh my gosh, it's just incredible to know this is out there, that women are stepping into their leadership role and helping to lead the way for others. Am I talking too fast, Tanya? Should I keep going, or do you have any questions?
No, keep going. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Okay. There is a level beyond High Priestess that I discovered the last year and a half, and I haven't kind of released it yet because I am still in the awakening of this other stage, which is fascinating, right? Because I created all this work around High Priestess. I created a whole program that I still lead called High Priestess Rising. And my gift is facilitating women between the stages. Whatever stage you're in, I help to facilitate going from one stage to the next. It's messy business in between the stages, by the way. It's like your life falling apart, being burned to the ground, like it's like shedding the layer of a snake, the skin of a snake, and it can be very painful and confusing, and you could be like, what the frig is going on? Like, all your friends can leave. I've had people tell me that their house burned down with all their belongings. I mean, but you can't take stuff of the lower vibration with you to the next phase. And so I found that I have a gift for facilitating going from one stage to the next. And this last year, I was going to tell this quick story, Tanya, that a couple years ago, my life was really good. I was married to a man. I had my adorable little daughter. I had this home that was like my dream home in Rancho Santa Fe. And I realized that I was out of alignment with my sacred purpose and what I'm really here to do. And I had a lot of attachment. There was a television show being made about my life, and we were doing filming, and it was like people would walk into my house and go, wow, you've made it. And I was very much in touch with my inner high priestess and living that way. But there was also something that was not right, that was off. And I knew that in order for me to go to the next phase, that I was going to have to basically give up all my attachments to everything. And it was a very painful time. I got rid of like 90% of my physical belongings. I moved and downsized into a house that was like 1/10 of the cost and price. I left a marriage that was dysfunctional, and basically like whew, all at once, very painful. But there was a part of me that was conscious that knew that I was going to the next level. And sure enough, it never occurred to me that there was a level beyond High Priestess, because I wasn't in that phase. I wasn't in that place. So how could I know what I don't know? So obviously I had no idea. And all of a sudden it came into my awareness that I was like, oh, of course, that was right under my nose. And now arriving in the place that I am, and I'm still unfolding this phase, but things are starting to come together and gel even more. What my sacred purpose is, helping to lead others to align with their sacred purpose and really living their full mission here in life. So it's been a wild ride, wild ride.
Wow. Yeah. And I think, well, I can definitely relate, and I'm sure other women listening to this can relate to that feeling of cleaning house, and how scary it is to let go of everything. And I called it my dark night of the soul, and same thing. And I think you called it that as well, where it literally felt like I was in a tunnel and I had no idea where the other side of the light was. And it was messy and ugly. And I was like, everything felt like it was being stripped away from me. And nothing mattered other than this process that I was in. And so I can totally relate. And yeah. So anything you can reveal about this next stage, or is that kind of in the down low?
Yes. Okay. So I'll tell you this.
Okay, perfect. Because I'm sure everyone's like, what is it? What is it?
I'll give you some clues. Okay. So when you're in the king and queen, if you look at like the tarot, there's the king and the queen. They have a counterpart, right? If you look at the high priest and high priestess, they are alone. They are actually not in relationship. Okay. She's a crone. The high priestess is a crone. So there's part of your path that you need to walk alone. Now, I'm not saying you need to like divorce your husband or break up with your boyfriend or whatever. I'm saying that there is work, soul work, that you can only do alone. And it's going to feel like you're alone. In fact, often when you're in the high priestess stage, even if you have community around you, it's a weird sensation. You could feel like you're doing this alone. But what happens when you go to the next phase is that the next phase above that is about sacred union. sacred divine union, and it's often with another person, and you have a shared sacred purpose. Some people call it twin flame, some people soulmate. There's a lot of different vocabulary kind of going around about it. I've studied twin flames. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can look it up. And I don't know if I fully believe that or not. My husband and I have some of the signs and some of them not, whatever. But I do see a new templating for relationship that's coming in, where there's a joint or complementary, there's a shared sacred purpose. So your sacred purpose is your soul song. It's the true reason why you came. There's a reason why you came here into a human form. You had an objective. It was to experience humanity in all of its glory. And you also, if you're watching this, you, not everyone here, some people just come for themselves, but you came here for others to contribute to the evolving consciousness right now. And you knew what that fullest expression is and was going to be. Your partner has complementary skill set and shared vision, and you're here to assist each other in it. So there is a counterpart to in this other phase. Now, even if you chose to be alone and not be married or have a boyfriend or a partner, then it's about you, the masculine, the feminine within you, perfectly aligned and in sync and in partnership with the divine. But I find that usually there's a completely new templating for relationship. It looks completely different from what we've ever seen. It's not like, I mean, my marriage before, it was functional. I could have stayed in it. I'll say this, I could have stayed in it. I consider it dysfunctional. It wouldn't work for me. A part of me would have died. But I can see how people can stay in a relationship like that. It's like, oh, we love each other. Some people are like, well, he takes her to school and I do this. He pays the bills and I do that. We each have our function. We each have our job. This next level of sacred partnership is full friggin' on. It's like, I mean, my husband and I right now have transcendental experiences all the time that blow our mind. I mean, a year into it, our sex life is better than it's ever been. There was a time in my life when I was in my queen stage where I thought, you know what? I just don't really need to have sex. I'm going to be okay not ever having sex. My sex drive was completely gone. And I was like, I'm okay with that. Not having any sex drive or really caring about sex. And then I went through my high priestess stage, and it was like, I'm just doing my inner work. I don't have time for that really. I'm just doing my thing. And then I awoke to, no, the fullest expression of me is sacred union and sacred sexuality coming together with my sacred partner. And he actually is writing a book on sacred sexuality and intimacy and partnership. And we have the deepest level of partnership and intimacy that I could ever imagine. He's opening me in ways that I could have never imagined. And he's also helping. To give you an example at this stage, like I see this happen all the time with people that come together. I'm thinking of one couple right now, like they have complementary skill set. Like my husband is a master internet marketer and he's master like tech savvy. I am terrible at the tech savvy and don't like to do the marketing. And so he's helping me do all the marketing and stuff for my business. And he is creating work for men, which all the women that I work with need men's work. And so he's creating men's programs and books and content for the partners of the women that I work with. And when we come together, it's just crazy, the synchronicities and stuff that we have around us coming together in union. And the other hallmark of this phase, so it's not just about that, but that's a big part of it. But it's also about freedom and abundance. And again, it's not about having tons of money in the bank or, that's not what it is. It's the feeling that you are feeling, that you have the freedom to live the life that you desire. And you have all of the resources bubbling over in surplus that you need to fulfill your sacred purpose. That's really my definition of freedom. Do you have all of the abundance on all the levels, all of the resources for you to be fully in alignment with your sacred purpose, the reason why you came here this lifetime?
Wow, wow, wow. My mind is literally blown right now in this conversation. And the synchronicity is just, I'm a little bit flabbergasted right now. I'm not surprised because I've completely opened myself up to listen today. And that was my intention today. But what you were describing is exactly what I've been going through today with my husband. And so, and I'm just going to share this because it's just so relevant. So he left his job to work as my, basically my masculine counterpart with Sistership Circle.
Wow.
Does the tech, does the marketing, right? Like he's running the Facebook ads and doing all the analytics and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we've had just the same thing. Like some of the sexual experiences we've had have just been completely like, whoa, this is possible. Mind blowing. And today we were in complete doubt of that. Like, is this really what we should be doing? Because we've kind of gotten tangled with losing, like feeling like we haven't been having the freedom and feeling like we've been working in the business. And he's almost been feeling like a slave to it, of all that has to get done on the back end. Right.
Yeah.
And so it was just this big question mark of, well, should he go back to what he's doing? And he's like, I feel like I don't think that's the answer. And I'm like, I know, but something needs to realign. Yeah. And something needs to recalibrate. And on Friday, we actually had the scariest moment of our life where we had to rush my baby girl to the emergency room. Oh, no. And it feels like we are now, okay, so, and it's almost like if I could put this into what you're sharing right now, it's what's the piece that's out of alignment, that we had this wake-up call, so that we can recalibrate and come back to the sacred union. There is something that is a little bit off. And I think it's the way that he's been working. Right. And, but it's not that he needs to go and do his own thing, because we are so clear that, we are supposed to be working together. We're so complementary. I mean, we're literally astrologically, like I'm a Pisces, he's a Virgo. We're exactly 6 months apart. Exact opposites, right? But perfect in terms of coming together. And so it's just like, okay, so what needs to shift? It doesn't mean that we have to separate what we're doing and he needs to go back to what he's doing, but we need to realign in some way. And so I'm like, of course you're saying this right now. Of course you're saying this.
I know. The whole reason I have a community too. And the whole reason I do the calls is for myself.
Totally, right? Because everyone else gets the benefit.
And you guys can all listen in, but every week's topic is just what I need. And I just allow people to listen. I'm sure you experience this too. It's like when you're holding. So yeah, so of course. So here we are. So this is what I did. Okay. But I live my life friggin' full on, like bold, like I just kind of go for it. And I know that you're like that too. So my husband and I just got really friggin' clear about the feelings that we want to feel, not the goals that we want to arrive at, the feeling. And we wrote them down. We actually wrote down a mission statement. And so, gosh, I wish I had it right in front of me, but we wrote, this is so cute. I'm going to pull it up. Can you still see?
Please.
If I pull this up? Okay. I should have thought about this, but it's so cute. I can't not share this with you.
Okay. I mean, we'll put it in the show notes as well so people can see it. I'm sure it'll be really inspiring. Okay.
Yeah.
Ready.
So you have to reevaluate everything and shake things up, right? Because when you circulate new energy, then that's how you can, hold on. You manifest something new when you circulate different energy. So you go in and you make changes and it circulates the new energy. Hold on one second. Let me find. Oh, that's so weird. I'm logged into the wrong Google Docs. Let me find mine. Here we go. Okay.
Ready.
Laugh, it's so cute. So my daughter calls us the polar bear family because my husband gets really hot, and so we call him he's our polar bear, daddy polar bear. And so our we call ourselves we call this the polar bear family empire, and our subtitle is a union of epic sovereignty. And we wrote down the things that were important to us. Our values are freedom, fun, harmony, evolution, intimacy, vibrance, and purpose. So we're in the process of coming up with a family creed of our culture that we will then share with every person that supports us. Like we have a personal chef, personal assistant, a nanny, and so everybody that comes into our field that works for us or with us will be aware of our family creed and what our values are. And then for each of these, we wrote down, like for freedom, we wrote down passive income. We wrote down how much we want in savings. We wrote down, we're actually currently looking for our dream home right now. We wrote down the amount that we want to be creating in net income, and that we want to speak to a new financial planner for our family. We also put down in freedom spaciousness. So at least 3 days per week of downtime. That's what my husband and I want. And when we mean downtime, our daughter, we call her, she's with my previous husband. So we actually want 3 days per week with just my husband and I, where we spend quality time together, where we don't have to work and we just, lay around in bed all day. And we want, let me see. So anyway, we wrote in an expression, we champion each other's desires, goals, and liberations. So I'm just giving you an idea of what we wrote down in ours. Okay. So obviously you're going to have something different, like play. So under the category of fun, we wrote down play, at least 2 awesome vacations. And this is before at the end of 2016. We want to go to at least 1 outdoor festival. We want to encourage each other's exploration and desire for sexy play. We want to get a new kitten, and we want to teach our cat to walk on a leash. We're going to get a puppy. So anyway, I'm just giving you the ideas of the things we wrote down now. Oh, and then we also, adventure is under our category for fun. So we wrote down at least 2 adventurous outings per month. Okay. So these things, so this is what I've learned. Obviously, so before I realized that the life we had was possible, that we have right now, I didn't really have anybody modeling this for me. So I just thought, oh, you work hard, you have to work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, blah, 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 blah. No, you can completely create what you want from the ground up. Think as big as you can, because you can create something that nobody's ever done before. And I wish that I had somebody like me sharing what their life was like on a daily basis, because I didn't know. And so I became a total workaholic in the first stages of my business. And here's what happens. You attract what you are a vibration to. So I'm sure you know what this is like. It's like, oh, you create a business and become an entrepreneur because you want to have freedom. And all of a sudden you're on lockdown and you have no freedom. And then that is the vibration that's going out through your business. So then it's not actually going out into the world in the fullest expression of the vibration of who you are. And then people can't see you. And you're like, why can't people see me? This is what happens to all of us. We all go through this phase. It's a very common trap of the queen. And again, we all go through all the phases. It's not like we're stagnant, but I've just gotten bold. My husband and I have date night every Monday night. It's sacrosanct. We go out to dinner. It's sexy time. We'll go to a bar, it's full expression. Then on Tuesday mornings, we spend the morning in bed until 12. We very often will just cancel everything. We'll be like, you know what, for the next 3 days, we want to cancel everything. We want to stay in bed. And we've arranged our whole life and our whole schedule that our work is around us, not the other way around, where I don't do one-on-one coaching anymore. I used to make so much money doing one-on-one coaching, but every time the phone rang, the feeling I got was contraction. And so that was my litmus test. What makes me feel expansion and fun and play, and what feels like contraction? I was charging $10,000 to do 10 sessions with me that were 40 minutes long when I did holistic nutrition. I was booked 2 months in advance. I could make so much friggin' money doing that. And I was like, no, there's got to be another way for me to do this. And so I slowly started to phase that out. And now I've created all of my programs around doing things with a group. I love doing in-person retreats. So I guess my advice would be for anybody listening, when you're ready to make these kind of bold moves, you take your whole life and you come together with your partner and you like put it all out on the table and you're like, okay, what do I like? What do I not like? What is not working? How do we like, what if we were going to play big? What would it look like? And you write it down into a plan, like in the categories, like maybe you start by writing down the 7 or 8 values that are like the top. I don't know if I'm sure you guys have done stuff like this too, Tanya, but I don't know. It always helps me to hear other people's ideas, because then I get new juicy ideas, but, we've decided, like, I don't want to do anything that makes me feel constricted. So I don't do laundry. I don't do dishes. I don't take in my mail. I don't open mail. Every time I open mail, contraction. I don't do my own books. At one point I was taking a class on QuickBooks, because I was like, oh, I can do this. I don't need somebody to do my QuickBooks. And I started doing it. And I'm like, this is not the greatest expression of my soul. I did not come here into a human form to do QuickBooks. Now, I'm not saying that this life is for everybody. I'm not saying that what I have is the ideal that you want to work towards. I'm saying, I hope that those that are watching, that you can see what my fullest expression looks like, and it helps to find like the bold expression of what your life looks like. Let's say you're like, you know what, I really, waking up with my children in the morning and getting them off to school, I have so much constriction, it's so painful for me. Maybe it's you hire a nanny to come for 2 hours in the morning to get your kids dressed and take them to school. And I believe that where there's a will, there is a way. And the more you come in alignment with living boldly with your sacred purpose, the universe backs you. The universe is like, she's ready. He's ready. Now we can start bringing the resources and the people and the things to them to help further this message, this message and this mission, because you're here on a spiritual mission. And when you're in alignment with it, you will get backing. I mean, who better than to be backed by God? Awesome, right? And when you're not, you're going to feel things wonky. And then sometimes it just takes calibration. Like, you're doing things and it's feeling good and it's awesome, but the universe is like, there's another level, play bigger. Stretch yourself a little bit more, reevaluate. And it could take taking everything apart, like burn it down to the ground and then building it back up sometimes.
So amazing. I love everything that you shared. And even if someone watching this, has already done a values, looking at their values, and I just want to reiterate that piece of, you said about it's not the goals, but the feelings that we want to feel.
Totally.
And really rearranging ourselves to be in our, like, how do we want to feel? Do we want to feel more joyful, more peaceful? Okay, so now it's almost like you took goals and created those based on how you want to feel.
Totally.
And so now it's like, okay, well, if I want to feel joyful, okay, what are some of the things that would have me be in that, and what could support that? I love that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because, things can change and shift. Like, okay, we put down, we want to get another cat, another dog, or whatever. What we really want is fun. Like, we want the experience of fun and being in the vibration of fun. Let's say that in 6 months, we decide we run across another cat and we want a cat instead of a dog. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect cat for us. Our litmus test is, do we feel fun? Does this feel like fun and play for us? Is this going to add to our experience in the category of fun? Then awesome. Then that's what we're going to do. It's when people think, oh, when I get that thing, then I'm going to feel what I want to feel. And it's the opposite. You feel what you want to feel, and then you get that thing. Like, so I'm looking under another category. It's harmony. And we wrote down, well, what are the feelings of harmony? It's safety for us, tranquility, and we call it groove. So getting into like a succinct groove. Then we can actually evaluate our life and say, okay, what's working, what's not. Like we just evaluated that one of our assistants isn't the right fit. She's not at the right vibration. We're getting ready to transition her out, and we have just brought another assistant in who we're giving her tasks to. So that's helping us to create more groove and bringing this sense of feeling of harmony. But yeah, it's when you have, now here's what's interesting. We first got really in tune with harmony and what that feels and why we want to feel that and what that's going to bring to our life. We got into the feeling first, and then the solutions became totally apparent what to do. The solutions are right under our nose, but most people are focused on what they don't want. And so they're creating more of what they don't want. Like, oh, I have this funky energy. I'm trying to figure out why. Oh, it's because of my friend who has negative energy and she's around me. Or, oh, I need to do a space clearing. Oh, and they're constantly trying to figure out what's wrong, but they don't realize that they're feeding what's wrong instead of focusing and shifting the energy on, okay, what do we want to feel? What do we want to create? And then, working out from there.
I love that. And that's like if we think of slow food, right? It's like, okay, if we don't want fast food or we don't want war, it's not about being in this anti-war or anti-fast food. It's like, okay, what's the alternative? Slow food, right? With we're talking about food. So it just completely makes sense. It's just actually shifting our awareness and our attention onto something else, that thing that we do want, and putting our energy into having that feeling come alive. So I love that. Such a beautiful reminder and such a beautiful way in which you explain that.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Rose. And how can people get to know you, come play with you more? Yeah.
Well, my website is rosecole.com. It's ROSECOLE.com. And I have a gift for all of your sisters in your tribe. It's an ebook that explains the different layers, the different levels of consciousness. It gives a just more in-depth description so you can identify which layer you're at primarily and how to go between the levels. And I also have 6 audios that you can listen to that help to recalibrate you towards your sacred purpose and help you to elevate with whatever stage you're in. And so that's just my free gift to you. You can go to rosecole.com/free gift to download that. And you'll see on my website, I'm always offering new things. I do retreats. I have a course called High Priestess Rising, and all kinds of different ebooks and different offerings and things on my website that you can check out.
Perfect. And as we wrap up today, I just so appreciate everything that you shared and just the inspiration. And really, I'm feeling like, wow, I just got confirmation and feeling really light. So I just want to appreciate you for making an impact on me today. And I'm sure impacting everyone who's listening to this. And so as we close, I would love for you to just share whatever last words of wisdom want to come through you.
Thank you, Tanya. What I wish that I knew 5 years ago, I wish that I could go back and whisper to myself and just say, this is a short life. It's such a short life. And no one can really hurt you because you're a soul having a human experience. And you came here to play, and you came here to feel everything. So why not play big? Why not just not give a shit about what anybody else thinks and have some fun? See how far you can take it. See how big you can play, how bold you can be.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you got as much value as I did, and we'll see you for the next Sistership Circle podcast.